We appreciate everyone who attended yesterday's workshops and field trips. They were great events, along with our icebreaker event, which featured the Humble Oyster movie with Logan McDonald. And we're just getting started. So over the next couple days, we'll keep these good times rolling with an exciting lineup of keynote speakers, welcoming addresses, the SWS SAC chapter meeting, a student poster session, panel lunch discussions, and of course, presentations highlighting the important wetland work that you all are involved with. We're thrilled to have such a lineup of distinguished experts with us today. So let's get started. Without further ado, it's my honor to introduce our first speaker, Chief Dan Skyhorse. Chief Skyhorse is a distinguished leader of the Santa Rosa Creek Muscogee tribe and a passionate environmental and indigenous rights activist. With a profound connection to the land, he has led numerous initiatives to preserve natural resources and promote sustainable practices. He educates the public on the true history of the Creek Native Americans and the vital role of indigenous knowledge in environmental stewardship. As a certified herbalist, he conducts classes on the medicinal uses of native plants and emphasizes the importance of natural remedies. Chief Skyhorse will share his unique perspective on the significance of natural resource conservation. His deep understanding of indigenous culture and environmental ethics will undoubtedly enrich our appreciation of these vital ecosystems. So please join me in welcoming Chief Dan Skyhorse to the stage.
You guys are looking at me like you don't have any idea what I just said. Would you like to press 2 for English? I said, hello, how are you? I'm Chief Skyhorse. I am a Muscogee man. And I will go ahead and tell you to start with that my presentation style has been described as the squirrel style. So I'm liable to go in any direction at any given time, so just hang on as best you can. One of the things that I want to be able to share with you was a little bit about the word Muscogee. Muscogee is a word or a name that was given to us by other tribes and other areas, and we originally were Isti, and that's just people. So other tribes tended to name people or groups by something about what they did or where they lived or that sort of thing. Muscogee actually means those who live in the low-end wetlands. Wow. And you hear the word creek being spoken. Well, creek was a name that was given to us by the Europeans when they got here, and it actually encompassed the Muscogee, the Hitchti, the Coweta, all of the different tribes. And you know, there really weren't tribes. We had towns. We lived in towns. We didn't have tribes until the French got here with that word. And so there's so many things that have been put on us as descriptors that were not originally us. But the creek term was applied because we had a propensity to live on the creeks and rivers. And so they just referred to us as the creeks. And you've heard the saying that a gentleman that was headed to Washington, D.C. for a meeting said that he would be there in a week if the good Lord's willing and the creeks don't rise. He wasn't talking about the water. So we have been in this area. The Muscogee moved down into this area out of Alabama and Georgia as a vacuum was created by the Pensacola Indians, who were pretty much annihilated by the Spanish presence here. And they were, of course, the disease wiped out a lot, and just the slavery and the treatment got a good number, and then just a few were actually assimilated by marriage to the Spanish people that were here. So our people, with the European incursion and the pressure that was put on, they moved down into the what was in West Florida, Spanish territory, in order to escape what was going on with the settlers moving in and the government's treaties to help us, and the ones that wound up all the lands being ceded to the federal government. But that's a drum I'm not going to beat today, because everybody knows what's going on with that. But I wanted to talk to you about wetlands. And I'm genuinely grateful to be here today. And while I might not share your scientific expertise, I do have a deep love and respect for our wetlands. And it's a real privilege for me to be able to speak to a room full of people who devote their lives to understanding and protecting these wetlands, these critical areas. First up, I want to acknowledge the original stewards of the land. The indigenous people were here when the sails first broke the horizon of the ships of the Europeans. And we have a saying in the Muscogee language, Bomogin Hiedos, Bomogin Hiedos. We're still here. But the wetlands, getting back to the wetlands are really something special. And they're not just ecological powerhouses that supporting incredible array of biodiversity, but they're also sacred spaces for many people, including Native communities. Unfortunately, these precious resources are facing some serious threats. Pollution, aggressive development are putting wetlands at risk. Our ancestors always emphasized the importance of thinking 7 generations ahead. They believed in making decisions that would sustain the earth, not just for themselves, but for their descendants. And as you dive into your research and your field work, I hope you will carry this principle with you. There's a saying that we have, take the best of the old and blend it with the new. And I think there's a real opportunity for us to apply this in conservation. Our traditional ecological knowledge, when combined with modern science, opens a world of possibilities. For example, controlled burns, which many indigenous tribes have used to manage land health for centuries. And now that is recognized as a valuable ecological practice by scientists around the world. In another practice, when we harvest plants, we take some of what we need from the plant from each of the 4 directions. And this selective pruning is a way that we can help the plant to not only survive, but to flourish. Wetland restoration is another traditional area where traditional practices can make a huge difference. And I have a saying that I always throw out, and that is, if we had respect, there would be no need for restoration. But by working together and respecting both scientific data and indigenous wisdom, we can create more resilient ecosystems. This kind of collaboration doesn't just happen though. It requires effort and openness on both sides. And I would urge you to reach out to local Native communities. Involve us in your projects from the start. Our intimate knowledge of these lands can offer insights that might not be immediately obvious from a purely scientific perspective. And as you conduct your research, I encourage you to think beyond the data and the studies. Consider these wetlands, what they mean to people who have lived alongside them for millennia. The old ones tell a story that at one time we communicated with the plants. The plants told us how to use their medicines. But we have grown deaf. To the wisdom and guidance of their voices. Now there's silence. When the plants are being hurt or killed, we can no longer hear them scream. But I'm here today to ask you to be more than scientists. I'm asking you to be advocates, to be protectors, to stand against those who refuse to save our planet because it's not cost effective. Be warriors. In our culture, warriors did not go to battle to defeat an enemy. Warriors went to battle to protect those that depended on them. Every paper you publish, every finding you present, and every project you lead has the potential influence on how we treat these environments. Let's make sure our impact is positive and lasting. I appreciate the opportunity to share the Native perspective with you today. And I hope my words will inspire you to consider new ways to approach your important work. Let us commit to working together, blending our knowledge and strengths for the betterment of our planet. I thank you all for your dedication to conserving our wetlands, and I thank you for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's make a real difference for seven generations to come. So now it's time. Warrior up. Mado.